Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. It is absolutely fantastic to have you here today. We're going to dive in and enjoy some truly fascinating insights together as we break down a vehicle that's practically causing a stir in the automotive world right now. I highly encourage you to get comfortable because we're going to explore exactly how a brand new compact EV could completely shake up the Italian market. There is so much buzz out there, but today we are cutting right through the noise using the cold, hard facts directly from our sources.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, we've got to talk about the price, 26,600 euros. For a native, Segment B electric vehicle, that starting price is highly competitive. But actually, it gets even better. When you factor in the current launch promotions, that base price drops all the way down to around 23,300 to 23,900 euros. In an industry where electric vehicles are constantly, and I mean constantly, criticized for being way too expensive for the average consumer, hitting a price point this aggressive is a massive attention grabber. It immediately changes the whole conversation from, I can't afford an EV to, wait, maybe I actually can.
All right, Section 1, the arrival of the Kia EV2. So to really understand why this matters right now, we need to look at the timeline. Production has officially kicked off at the European plant in Žilina, Slovakia, and those first official price lists and orders opened up right around the summer. Now, dealership interest is incredibly high for sure, but we do need to be clear here. It's still a bit premature to call it a certified commercial success. I mean, it's practically just rolled off the truck.
Let's move to Section 2, Interior Space and Technology, and see how this car is physically put together. Because it's built on a dedicated native electric platform, it doesn't have to make any of those clumsy, awkward compromises you see in multi-energy platforms that are still trying to fit a traditional gas engine. The result? Well, despite being a very compact 4.07 meters long, it maximizes absolutely every single inch of interior space.
This platform allows for some seriously unique features. You get a sliding rear bench seat, which, by the way, is a total rarity in this class, that lets you expand your main trunk space from 362 liters up to 403 liters when you need cargo room over legroom. And contrast that with a super clever 15-liter front trunk, or frunk, that is specifically designed for one crucial thing, keeping those dirty, bulky charging cables entirely out of your main cargo area. It's a small detail, but, it makes living with an EV infinitely easier.
I absolutely love this concept of a power bank on wheels. The EV2 actually inherits vehicle-to-load or V2L technology from Kia's much larger, much more expensive models. I want you to imagine driving out to an outdoor party and plugging a giant speaker system directly into your car's 230-volt outlet. Or, say you're heading up to the mountains and you just charge your e-bike straight from the vehicle. It fundamentally shifts the car from just being a basic mode of transport into a literal mobile energy hub.
Now, what's really interesting about this next bit is how Kia has managed the technology balance inside the cabin. They give you all the massive digital real estate you'd expect, dual 12.3-inch screens for your instruments and infotainment, but crucially, they kept safe, physical buttons for the dual-zone climate control. You don't have to dig through 3 digital submenus just to turn on the AC while you're driving on the highway. Add to that the integration of a ChatGPT-powered AI voice assistant, and you've got an interior that is incredibly advanced, yet still entirely intuitive and safe to operate. Okay, Section 3, Range and Fast Charging. Because obviously, all the fancy tech in the world doesn't matter if the EV fundamentals aren't actually there. So let's take a look at the 2 very distinct battery versions they're bringing to the Italian market. Your buying decision here basically boils down to a choice between 2 specs. First, you have the standard range, sporting a 42.2 kilowatt-hour battery that yields roughly 317 kilometers of WLTP range and gives you 147 horsepower. Honestly, this is your perfect daily city commuter. But if you step up to the long range, it bumps you to a 61 kilowatt-hour battery, extending your range well past 450 kilometers, though it does slightly reduce the power to 135 horsepower. So you're directly trading a tiny bit of punch for serious long-distance capability.
But here is the absolute secret weapon when it comes to actually living with this car in a city. 22 kilowatts. That is the optional AC charging speed. Think about it, most standard competitors in this class completely max out at 7.4 or maybe 11 kilowatts if you're lucky. This means that if you plug the EV2 into a standard public AC station, the kind you find literally everywhere on city streets, you can fully recharge this car in just 2 to 3 hours, effectively cutting your wait time in half compared to its rivals. It's a real game changer.
All right, Section 4, the surprise for new drivers. Now, we are going to pivot to something truly fascinating. This is a perfectly legal loophole that is turning this vehicle into an absolute must-have for 18-year-olds who've just gotten their driver's license in Italy.
And this brilliantly illustrates what's going on. Italian law is incredibly strict about power limits for new drivers, known as neopententati. But the law calculates limits for EVs based on their homologated power, which is just the power the car can sustain continuously for 30 minutes. So, while the EV2 can hit a massive peak power of 147 horsepower when you stomp on the pedal, its homologated power on the official registration document is only 49 horsepower. Legally speaking, it flies right under the radar. It's brilliant.
Think about what this actually means for a young driver. Instead of being forced to drive a boring, mechanically restricted, severely underpowered old hatchback, they get access to a futuristic, cyberpunk-styled smartphone on wheels. It draws really heavily from the aggressive design of the massive EV9 SUV. Plus, they get native wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and they get to experience that immediate, snappy electric torque safely without violating any driving laws whatsoever. I mean, the appeal here is off the charts.
But hey, the appeal isn't just about looks and flashy tech. It is really about financial independence. For a 20-year-old, running costs are everything, right? With this EV, they skip paying the road tax entirely for the first 5 years. They ditch those expensive oil changes and complex engine maintenance, and in a ton of Italian cities, they get to park for free in the blue zones and drive straight into restricted ZTL city centers without paying a fine. It literally makes the actual cost of daily independence so much cheaper.
So, Section 5, Challenges in the Italian Market. We do need to ground all this excitement in reality for a second and look at the genuine hurdles this car is going to face. Because despite all this brilliant engineering we just talked about, the Italian automotive market remains notoriously skeptical of fully electric vehicles, often heavily favoring traditional hybrids instead. So, the crucial point is that massive price jump. Yes, the standard range base price is highly attractive at 26,600 euros. But if you want that 450-kilometer long-range battery, well, the price rapidly inflates, approaching 38,000 euros. Once you crossed into that price bracket, you were suddenly facing some really fierce competition, not just from other brands, but internally from Kia's own slightly larger EV3. It makes the buying decision much harder for the consumer. Now, as of right now, we are seeing incredibly high foot traffic in dealerships. Kia is pushing hard with very attractive financing deals, boasting rates of around 195 euros per month, and that is absolutely driving the first wave of signed contracts. But the truth is, early interest doesn't always equal sustained sales. We are going to have to closely watch the actual registration data over the coming months to see if this momentum really holds up.
Which leaves us with a final, slightly provocative thought. With its clever legal loopholes, aggressive base pricing, and unparalleled interior space, will the EV2 be the car that finally makes the Italian market fall in love with electric? I guess only time will tell. I want to say a massive, sincere thank you to all of you for joining me and enjoying these insights together today. It is always such a privilege to break down these topics with an audience that truly cares about the details. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.